Imagine you're traveling to a foreign country. You're excited to meet new people and see new places. You get there and you find out everyone hates you just because of the color of your skin. You are treated differently, you are patronized like you are inferior, and you are even assaulted. Well, this is happening as you're reading this all over the world. In the past 100 years alone, millions of people were killed just because they were different skin color or they were from somewhere else. That figure is astonishing, and it is an obvious problem that needs to be stopped. A novel I read recently, The Garden of Evening Mists, is about a woman who is a survivor of a Japanese concentration camp. In the beginning of the book, the woman is extremely racist towards the Japanese for the way she has been treated, and had been portrayed as being very close-minded. As the novel progressed, she had become more and more open to the Japanese, even becoming very close friends with some. This shows that even someone who has gone through some of the most evil and racist events in history can still lead an unprejudiced life. Recently, a tragedy has took place in New York City. A black male named Eric Garner was selling illegal cigarettes outside a local shop. When police went to confront him, he was put in a chokehold that was illegal in New York. As he screamed, "I can't breathe, I can't breathe," and then he later died in the hospital. Due to the rather small crime the, the victim committed, it is thought that race had played a role in his death. It was reported that he was resisting arrest, but that is no excuse for several officers rushing out to tackle and choke Garner until his death. On April 5, 2015, anti-Islamic protesters raided the city of Perth, Australia. This violent group injured several people, four of them having to be hospitalized, according to ukmail.com. The group was later suppressed by local police and anti-racist groups. Officials state that what we're trying to say is that this is dangerous to allow hate speech to occur on the streets of Melbourne. But that wasn't the end of anti-Islam protests that day. Anti-racist protests also happened in 12 other cities in Australia. It is feared that more of these protests will happen, but the anti-racist groups stated that they will retaliate once again. The Israeli-Palestine conflict has been going on for many centuries, and people die every day on each side because of racial tensions. Since 2000, tens of thousands of people have died due to the conflict, including thousands of children, according to ifamericans.org. One of the biggest threats to modern-day society is the terror group ISIS. They use propaganda to brainwash people into joining their group and kill everyone who has views that even slightly contradict theirs. One of the most recent victims was a young American woman. They killed her because she was a different skin color. ISIS claims that Jordanian airstrikes killed the 26-year-old Kayla Mueller, but it is widely hypothesized that she could not have been killed by the airstrike, and that the mounting evidence that the other aid workers that worked alongside Kayla had also been killed, making it hard to believe that she wasn't killed by the terror group ISIS. If these racial tensions don't stop, many, many more people will die. This conflict has poured into a number of other countries in the Middle East and has become the longest racially influenced conflict in human history. Although racism is extremely hard to get rid of, there are many small and large solutions that could eventually, for the most part, bring peace to racially divided countries. The amount of racist propaganda going on around the world is extremely high, but just because it's going to be a long journey to destroy racism doesn't mean it's not possible. The first solution to the problem may be challenging to do, but it would be highly effective. We would need many countries to participate in educating everybody that we are all equal, and no differences make us better than one another. If we did this one by one, we would eventually eliminate racism. Another way of eliminating racism would be to ban all groups that share racial tendencies. Any group that threatens another race through words or actions. Groups like the KKK and other hate groups should not be allowed and should never have been allowed. I think the easiest and best way to phase out racism is through time. I think that every few years we have gotten more and more open to people, and it's crazy to think that just about 150 years ago that there were still slaves in the U.S. and only 60 years ago there were laws promoting segregation. No one is born hating another person because of the color. People must learn to hate. Nelson Mandela. The more open-minded we are, the more open-minded our children will be. No child is born racist. A child born in a time where there are slaves and hate towards other races will most likely become racist. And a child that is born in a time where everyone has equal rights will most likely become fair to everyone, regardless of their skin color. With thousands of people dying at the hands of racists every day, it is obvious why this needs to stop. The only way we will ever be able to achieve world peace is if the evil known as racism is obliterated. But racism cannot be stopped by just sitting at home wishing it would go away. We need to take action. My plan to help end racism is to create a Twitter account that will gain attention to stop racists. I will use the hashtag stand up to racism to spread the word and hopefully make the world a better place. My other plan is to write a letter to our state senator and convince him to abolish all hate groups and persuade him to take actions against racism as well.